attempt to overturn the will of the American people, to seek power at all cost, to replace the ballot with brute force, to destroy, not to build.
Joining us now, Pulitzer Prize-winning columnist, associate editor of The Washington Post, and MSNBC political analyst Eugene Robinson, host of the podcast On Brand with Donnie Deutsch, the great Donnie Deutsch, and staff writer at The Atlantic magazine, Anne Applebaum. Good morning to all of you. Anne, I want to start with your new piece in The Atlantic about your meeting with MyPillow CEO and conspiracy theorist Mike Lindell. The piece is titled, "The MyPillow Guy Really Could Destroy Democracy." In it, Anne writes this, quote, "When you contemplate the end of democracy in America, what kind of person do you think will bring it about? Here is what you probably don't imagine. An affable, self-made Midwesterner, one of those goofy businessmen who makes his own infomercials. A recovered crack addict, no less, who laughs good-naturedly when jokes are made at his expense. A patriot, or so he says, who may well be doing more damage to American democracy than anyone since Jefferson Davis. Along with Bannon, Giuliani, and the rest of the conspiracy posse, Mike Lindell is helping to create profound distrust in the American electoral system, in the American political system, and ultimately in American democracy. You can mock Lindell, dismiss him, or call him a crackhead, but none of this will seem particularly funny when we truly have an illegitimate president in the White House and a total breakdown of law and order." So, Anne, tell us about your meeting with Mike Lindell. What did you take from him?
I was interested in meeting him because I have a long-standing interest in ideologues and people who believe things with real, with a kind of fervence and sincerity, and he seemed to be one of them. Some people in that camp are, obviously, opportunists, or they're in it for the money, and he seems to genuinely believe that at some point, he originally said this August, now he's saying maybe it'll be later, the Supreme Court is going to vote 9-0 to reinstate Donald Trump, and Trump will be president again. And he believes that he has data that somebody has given him, which will prove that the Chinese intervened in our election and changed the result. And nothing, you cannot offer him a single argument that will dissuade him. Not even the argument that, in all of the disputed states, votes were hand counted, so there can be no problem with the machines. It's a complete fiction, and yet he remains convinced of this. And more than that, he's spending a lot of money to promote it. He promotes it in advertising. He actually tried to advertise on Fox, and they seem to have, didn't want him to do it. But he's also organizing this symposium that starts in a few days in South Dakota, where he's going to present this evidence, and the mysterious experts who have analyzed it are going to emerge. He says he spent tens of millions of dollars on it. He's booked hotel rooms in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and he's putting a lot of money into this. And there's a long tradition of very wealthy people using their money to promote conspiracy theories and to push bad ideas. And he fits absolutely into that tradition.
So he obviously mocked. He's mocked regularly, as you said, just like Donald Trump was mocked when he first started running for president. And almost everybody said there's no way the guy could be elected president of the United States. What is you've written a book about this. You've written about illiberal leaders in Europe. You've written about misinformation, disinformation. What is the best approach to not only confront people like Mr. Pillow here, but also friends and acquaintances that show up in your emails or inbox that spread one conspiracy theory after another?
So, in Lindell's case, it's really a form of almost religious belief. I don't want to confuse it with real religion, which is something different, but it has that quality to it. It's a form of faith and not a form of reason or logic. I think really the only way to do it is to kind of change the subject and get people to talk about areas where you can agree, and slowly try to create some some other areas of agreement and conversation, and only then is it possible really to try and get through to these people. But of course, someone like Lindell may not be possible. As I said, it's a real faith. It has a religious quality. It's not, he doesn't respond to contradictions or questions. And one of the scary things, I think, is that historically people like that, when the predicted event doesn't happen, whether it's the end of the world or the Messiah coming, when it doesn't occur, they don't give up. They simply recalibrate and they say, well, it didn't happen this time because of X or Y reasons, or because we didn't have enough faith, or because, the Supreme Court is full of Chinese communists, or, whatever the excuse will be. And they will continue. And I mean, the real thing to do, I think, is to get to the followers and the doubters and the people who aren't quite as convinced, and to try to show them that, the things that people like Lindell predict don't happen.
So, Ann, how has this happened? Where would my friends with advanced degrees, my friends with law degrees, my family members who were conservative, evangelical, constitutionalists their entire life, and now following whatever a former reality TV host tells them to follow or believe, and not take vaccine shots if that's what they think the cult demands of them. What would have happened to all of these people, including Lindell, if Hillary Clinton had gotten 50, 60, 70,000 more votes, and if Donald Trump had never been president?
So, of course, they existed before that, and that element was part of our culture and has been for a long time. I mean, what I'm afraid of is that Donald Trump really did change a part of the Republican Party. I don't want to say all the party, because we have to hope that the dissidents will eventually win this argument. That during his presidency, he repeated constantly these lies, and the effect of the lies coming from the highest office in the land. And the continued effect of the lies, in particular about the election, that the election was stolen, that the repetitive nature of that, the nature of his authority, he was the president of the United States, that has changed a lot of people's minds for good. And it is going to be indeed very difficult to bring them back. I mean, it's not about bringing them back into the mainstream. It's bringing them back into constitutionalism, and into belief that our electoral system is functional. Because what I'm really afraid of now is that a generation of lower level GOP officials, people who are in charge of running elections in states like Georgia or Arizona, that we will elect people who are willing to change the results, or who do believe that there's something false or fake about our system, and that it needs to be improved upon by the minority. And so the real danger, is 2022 or 2024, when we may see people begin to change the results of the elections. And I think being aware of this, understanding that it's possible, talking as much as possible about it, getting Democrats to pay attention to this problem, thinking through in advance what the solutions might be, I think all of that is really important right now.